I want to take a moment today to do one of my unedited videos. Since this video is going to be edited, get ready for lots of ums and ohs and me staring blankly at the camera while I space out and forget what I'm talking about. But I always feel that when I'm talking about something that's got me a little riled up, I do better when I do an unedited video. People seem to like it better. Well, yesterday I posted a video where I talked about a video Glock made called Wrong Girl and how they portrayed a really bad tactic in that video where the woman had her gun in her bedroom in a safe under the bed, which was directly opposite the front door while she was sitting in the living room and someone was trying to break in. And she waited till like the second or third time they tried to break in to go get her gun and go back to the couch. Well, in that video I said that's ridiculous. Your gun should not be somewhere you can't get to it if someone breaks in your home. But there were other things that were wrong with that video, and other people pointed out some stuff, but one thing people kept saying that kind of bothered me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not picking on them or saying they're wrong, I'm just saying this whole mindset kind of bothers me. A lot of people said, well, the biggest thing was the first time the guy knocked on the door and then she didn't see anybody out front, she didn't call 911. And that's what bothers me, this whole notion that every time anything goes slightly wrong, we should call 911. Now, I'm not saying that that's not the way to best protect yourself liability-wise or legally-wise, because unfortunately, we live in a society where people think that that's one of your obligations to do right off the bat, but that's the whole thing I have problem with. This whole idea that we can't possibly be prepared to deal with issues ourselves, we have to rely on the police. You know, every time we hear a bump in the night and you say, well, I went out to see what it was, people are like, well, that was stupid. You should have called the police and stayed where you were. Why? Because a trash can lid blows up against the side of my house, or a raccoon knocks over my garbage can, or anything like that. It's something benign. I should call the police immediately and just hide in my room. That whole mindset, that whole helplessness thing, that whole thing where you got to call the police, that is ridiculous if you ask me. 99.9% of the times it's going to be nothing. And going out to see what it is isn't escalating a situation. That's just, reconnaissance. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. This whole notion that you can't possibly be trusted to go out and check yourself kind of bothers me. Especially like when they say, well, when someone knocked on her door and she looked out there and there was no one there, she should have called the police. Why? When UPS drops something at my door, they knock or ring the bell and then they disappear, and I go look through the peephole. I don't see anyone. Unless I open the door and see a package, I don't know what it was. That's most of the times my bell rings or someone knocks on the door and no one's there. Or maybe kids were just playing ding dong ditch, We didn't call it that when I was a kid, the blatant racism of the 70s. But, that's something kids do. So you want to call the police just because of that? It just bothers me that people think that you have to involve the police anytime there's the slightest little hint of potential danger, even if it's the tiniest percentage of potential danger. So it's just ridiculous to me, this whole call 911 mentality. It's not escalating a situation if I go out in my front yard and see what that big bang was. It's escalating a situation if I pull a gun on someone who's threatening me and they decide to charge me. That's escalation. The other part is just me being a good homeowner and a good neighbor. So I don't like this whole, you have to involve the police. That's one of the things that's leading to this militarized police force society we have right now, where the police aren't there to enforce the laws, they're there to control the population. When you have to count on them for all of your protection and all of, everything you need, then you become dependent upon them, and you're no longer dependent on yourself. You're no longer self-sufficient. You can no longer take care of yourself. And that really bothers me. And like I said, I'm not picking on the people that said call 911, because unfortunately that's reality we kind of live in now. But it's a reality that I think we should change.